Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Antonia. Hope you guys are doing well. We're hanging out with Harles on the floor. He's actually right here, but please mind my look. I just shoveled. It is the first snow day in a long time here in Toronto, and I needed to shovel the snow because then I wouldn't be able to leave my house later. So I look like this now, but I thought we would have a casual chit chat on the floor of my living room with you guys, just like old time's sake, and we would talk about how to set yourself up for success in training with macros. So like eating around macros, being aware of your macros. I'm not gonna go over how to calculate your macros. You definitely have ample amount of resources out there, but I will list two very good, thorough videos by Christy O'Donnell or O'Connell. Anyways, I will list them down in the description below. She does a fabulous job on explaining what macronutrients are and then also how to calculate your own macronutrients. And if you've watched those two videos and you still kind of don't quite understand what's going on, my friend Alex recommended an app called Carbon. I personally have never used this before. I'm not affiliated with the app, but it essentially is a paid service where you can plug in your numbers and it will spit out macros for you, and that way you have your guide. So it'll give you your calories that you need to eat and then the macros you need to hit for protein, carb, and fat. So now that we got that out of the way, say you're a beginner and you are just getting into your macros and counting macros and you started going to the gym or you're starting to move your body a little bit more. I think personally, as someone who's been doing this for over 7 months now, you need both of them. You need the balance between the gym to expel your energy, and then to gain energy again, you need to eat right and eat within macros, because of course I wouldn't have lost over 20 pounds if it didn't work. I am probably in the best shape that I have ever been in my life, and I have goals, so I continue to do it. I've been doing it for, again, over 7 months now, and it wouldn't be sustainable to practice these things unless I did these other things to set myself up for success. So number one, if you're a beginner, you just started this, meal prep. I think it will help you a ton, and get yourself a scale, because it is the most accurate if you start weighing things out, plugging them in. I use MyFitnessPal, the free one, personally, but you can set your recipes and stuff like that, and if you weigh it out and then you portion them out, you know how many portions there are, and that way you're able to calculate your macros that way. But meal prepping is going to help you ease into calculating your macros, because then you already have set meals that have your macros set for you, and you can just grab them, eat them, and that way you plug them in and everything is set up. Now, if you're someone like me and you've been doing it for quite some time now, my second rule of thumb is I like to buy foods that are macro friendly. Now, what are you talking about when I say macro friendly? When I say macro friendly, I am typically looking at the label on the food, you know, the nutrition label, and I'm trying to figure out if it's going to be worth my while to consume. Because if you are only eating a allotted number of calories a day and you need to hit those goal targets of, say, like, you know, 140 grams of protein, 165 grams of carbs, and then like, I don't know, 60 grams of fat or something like that. Those are very similar to what I'm eating at the moment. If you need to hit those grammages, then you need to look at the nutrition label and make sure you're buying foods that are macro friendly. I always have 0% fat Greek yogurt. I always have 0% fat Baby Bell cheese. I have Parmesan crisps. I have things that are super macro friendly that I can give and take. I have these meringues by Trader Joe's that are super crunchy and delicious, that are like marshmallow-esque. Like, you need to look at things like that and add them into your pantry so you have an ample amount of resources to go and consume. Because if you're only stocking your fridge with things like, I don't know, say like a Delissio pizza, or like things like Oreos or stuff like that, if that's all you have in your pantry, you don't have things that are very macro friendly. It's not to say you can't eat those things. You can absolutely fit them into your macros. You just need to do a little bit of maneuvering, and you don't eat them all in one day, but you can still eat those things, but it's a lot easier to set yourself up for success if your majority of your pantry is macro friendly. Like, I have a ton of Japanese snacks that I still consume, but those are not the most macro friendly, right? So I make sure I can fit those things in, but I also have other things that will help me reach my goals. So if I know I'm gonna eat those Parmesan crisps, I know the fat is high, I know that the protein is high, and I know I won't have carb. So I'll make sure I'm eating those on a day where, you know, my carb is a little bit higher, but my fat might be lower, so I can fit that in. It's like, you just need to find little puzzle pieces to fit them into your macros. The third thing I do is I like to log my food in advance. So if I know I'm going to be eating the same breakfast, and I'm a person who typically likes eating the same breakfast, I rotate about the same breakfast all the time. I love eating my Greek yogurt oats combination, and you guys see when I make my what I eat in a day videos that thing is probably the only thing that I consume on a regular basis, and it's like the only thing that I've constantly consumed in my videos is that Greek yogurt and my protein shake. So I always have a Fairlife nutrition shake, and I always have that Greek yogurt bowl in the morning, or I might eat it for lunch. But that item I'm always eating, and I know the macros for that, so I will log that in advance. If I know I want to eat Body Ollie's pizza, or if I know I'm gonna go to Heidi Lau or something like that, I will guesstimate what I'm going to be eating that day for those dinners, and I will pre-log those items. Or if I know I'm gonna go to my friend's house and we're having sushi, then I will pre-log sushi that I know I'll eat, or the cake that I'm gonna eat, pre-log it, and that way I know for lunch I have X amount of calories and macros that I need to hit as my playroom. When I pre-log things, it's a lot easier for me to give and take. If you're gonna consume an item first and then you're gonna log it, you're not gonna be able to hit your macros, because it's just gonna be that much harder for you to hit your goals. Because if you just eat, and then at the end of the day, you log your macros, nothing's gonna be balanced. Beauty with eating with macros in mind is that those macros are set so it helps you in the gym. You know what I mean? So I'm not just eating things and then being like, okay, I'm only counting the calories. Like, I'm only gonna eat 1,800 calories a day. That's not gonna sustain you, because again, you could eat 1,800 calories of cake a day, right? But it's not gonna help you out in the gym when you go to the gym. You're trying to eat so you fuel your body, so you work out harder and you work out better. That's the give and take there. Now, the fourth thing that I do, and it leans into the third thing, is that if I know I'm going to be eating out at a restaurant, I've done this prior to even counting my macros, but I will look at the restaurant's menu and I will pick something beforehand. Now, if you have been watching me for a while, then you know I'm a foodie through and through. I love eating food. It is my favorite thing to do, is eat. But I used to look at the menu and pick out what I wanted, and then I would get to the restaurant and I knew exactly what I wanted. These days, I still look at the menu prior, I pick out what I want, but I'm a little bit more cautious in what I'm eating. And hopefully, if you have friends that you're dining out with, or a partner that you're dining out with, they understand that you need to eat a little bit more macro friendly. My friends are super lenient. They don't really care. And if you're hanging out with someone that's gonna give you grief for being like, hey, could we please go to like sushi, because it's a lot easier for me to count my macros that way, and they judge you for it, girl, bye, okay? Girl, bye. There's a reason why you are putting in this effort for yourself, right? It's a overall health thing. And if they're judging you for it, you don't need that in your life, honestly. I don't have friends who even care. Like, if I'm gonna go out to dinner with them and they're like, hey, we wanna go to Mexican, is that good with you? You know, like 9 out of 10 times it's fine. The restaurants are usually fine for me to go to, and as long as I know beforehand what the restaurant is and I can pick what I'm eating beforehand, I try to pick something that's a little bit more simplistic, just because it's easier to guesstimate. When you're going to a restaurant, you're never gonna have the macro set properly, because you don't have a scale and you don't know what you're consuming, because again, you're not the one preparing it in the kitchen, right? So I like to go for things that are a little bit more simplistic. If I'm gonna have sushi, I eat a lot of sashimi or like fresh rolls like that. And those things are a lot easier to guesstimate. It's easier to guesstimate on the higher end of the scale just because you don't know what's in the food. And if you go on the low end, it kind of just messes you up a little bit more. So with the calories in mind, I usually go a little bit higher, or I'll pick one that's like in the medium of what I can find on MyFitnessPal. But if you eat things like sashimi and stuff like that, it is a lot easier to guess. Or if you're gonna go out for steak or something like that, like, you know, okay, I'm gonna order a 4-ounce filet mignon, then you know it's like I'm ordering a 4-ounce filet mignon. The only downside to that is you don't know how they've cooked it. When I go out for breakfast, a lot of times I'll do like 2 poached eggs because I know those are poached in water. And then I will do my sourdough toast and then turkey bacon. And those things are just easier to guesstimate because then you can plug in turkey bacon and then you can just find one that has like a medium, you know, calorie. Those things are just a lot easier to log than if you were gonna go in and say you're eating like a truffle vodka sauce spaghetti or something like that. Those things are a lot harder to guesstimate, but you can still guesstimate, right? Just plug in on MyFitnessPal like truffle vodka sauce pasta, something should come up, and then more or less that's what you're gonna have to guesstimate. If you are on your, you know, beginning stages of this, I wouldn't go out to eat just quite yet unless you're eating things that are, again, very simplistic. Or say you go to like a restaurant like Cheesecake Factory where those items are already pre-logged into like MyFitnessPal. When you go to a chain restaurant like Cheesecake Factory or like say McDonald's or something like that, those are usually already plugged into MyFitnessPal. But if you're gonna be going to something that is very, you know, local, like Body Ollies or whatever, then those things are not as accurate because you, again, are guesstimating. And lastly, my top tip for you is you can still eat what you want and satisfy your cravings. You just have to be mindful and make sure you eat within your parameters. So say you are craving a Five Guys burger today and you think, okay, I need to eat this Five Guys burger. You can absolutely eat your Five Guys burger. You just need to make sure you can fit it into your macros. You can eat whatever you want when you're eating macro aware. You just have to be macro aware. So that is my biggest tip. Definitely satisfy it. If you want to eat those cookies, eat the cookies, but just be aware that you need to play around with your macros in order to fit those cookies in. When I want something, if I eat a treat every single day because like I used to snack a lot. I snack less often now, but I make sure I put in a treat a day because if I don't eat those things that I love, and if I'm not eating good, which honestly, like my meals more or less are very tasty, but if you're not eating good, you're not gonna sustain yourself, you're not gonna enjoy it, and then the journey is just not gonna continue. You're just gonna stop and then give up, and we don't want to stop, we want to keep going. So those are my tips for how to set yourself up to succeed in eating macro friendly. I hope they will help you in the long run. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. If you're a beginner, leave me a comment down below on what you're doing or what you're struggling with. Let's start a conversation, help each other out, and follow me on Instagram _HelloHarley. Follow me on TikTok at HelloHarley, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.